Everybody, welcome back to another episode of FSide DFS Fantasy NASCAR Picks. I'm your host, Mike Rower 31. First of all, thank you so much. We almost had 1,200 views on the video last week. And I'm sorry that the race was so choppy with rain and it got cut short and it was just another disaster, which was very hard to play for DFS because if it played out in a normal race, I think we would have done really well. But with the weather and pits and just things getting all mixed up, didn't happen that way. Turned into another scratch off lottery ticket. This week could be kind of the same because it's going to probably pour tomorrow. We're lucky we got practice and qualifying, and I'm so thankful for that because that kind of helps show us what potentially could happen with these cars, and we saw who's in trouble and who's done really well. So hopefully that'll translate. So a couple housekeeping things. Thunderstorm going on behind me, so hopefully electricity stays on, the internet stays on. Second, it is super hot in here because I turned all the fans and AC off just so there wouldn't be a residual background noise. And I've been battling a fly for about last hour, so if you see me go ham on it, please forgive me. It's just driving me nuts. So anyways, back to this race. Like I said, last week was a disaster. Xfinity, after I said that there should be long runs and no wrecks, then people couldn't get going on restarts and caused accordions, and most of everybody that played like Chalk, Ryan Sieg and Parker Klingman, who I really like too, in cash, lost them early on. And then I had one nut lineup which I thought was going to be great. I stacked all the Gibbs cars. I threw in Casgralla. I threw in Colin Mosaic. I know he was risky there. He's only like 3%, but he was actually getting up in like the top 12, I think it was, and he spun out, but then he was climbing back up. And then Sheldon Creed's actually doing good too. And it's the other reason Sheldon Creed goes for it. He takes out Cole Custer, who was in another good line I had, and a bunch of other cars. And John Harden ends up winning, and I think I lost like $70. But anyways, looking forward to a great race tomorrow or Monday, whenever it happens here. So got a lot of great information here. This is, I believe it was 301 laps or something like that, because it's around like 100 or around a mile track. It's a little bit off, so like by fractions, so they have to run an extra lap to make it a 300 or whatever. But anyway, so a lot of dominator points here. Flat track at like 2 to 7 degrees of banking, so there's not much here at all. It's pretty flat track, and it's a short track. Not like your normal short track. Most of those are banked, and some of those are even like shorter like than like a full mile track. Like it's like throwing the cars in a blender, but I don't think it's that bad here. It is hard to pass. We do know that. But cars have fanned out, and early on in restarts they can, but as you get into long runs, it's harder to do that. And we have seen some long stretches of green long runs. So, I think long run speed is going to be very important. So we have a lot of comparable tracks this season already. We have almost everybody ran New Hampshire last year, so we have either an Xfinity or a Cup, so we have that data. Richmond's comparable. Worldwide Technology was like 6.67, so it's a little bit less, but kind of comparable. Also, Phoenix is comparable. So we have practice, we've got qualifying, we got some good data. So let's just dig in here. So Christopher Bell got the pole. He won last year. He got the pole by fractions over Truex, but he has looked good here. Besides Worldwide Technology, he's been good. Even though he came back as a 7 overall composite and 10th in practice, he was third in long run speed. I think he's a great cash play, and I think he's the highest price guy on the board just because of his success that he's had here. Joe Gibbs has been dominant at this track in Xfinity and in Cup, and looks like that's going to continue here. So Martin Truex Jr. is my first prime play. He's never won here. He really wants to win here. So I think both these guys are excellent. If you can get both of them in the same lineup, then that's awesome too. I don't struggle. I think they could potentially trade back and forth the lead. And if nobody else gets up there and challenges for them, and like they were like head and shoulders, they could pull out. These two cars could separate themselves by multiple car lengths fairly soon and stay out there often and get so far ahead of the field that I think being a shorter track, I think there was only like 15 or 16 cars on the lead lap by the end, because a lot of, when they were in the long runs, they started passing some of the other cars in the tail of the field. So that's another thing to consider. I don't think these two are going to lap the complete field, but if they have the strong cars like they look like they do compared to some of the rest of the field, maybe less than 15 cars end up on the lead lap at the end. So these are definitely your top two options here. I'm putting the prime on Truex, but I really like Bell also. If you can get both in, that's fine. If you have to pick, I would lean Truex. Eric Almirola, he's won here 2 years ago. He's been really good these type of tracks. I think he's starting a little bit too far forward here. If Truex and Bell didn't have such dominant cars, then definitely consider him. But recently his form has not been as good this year, 23rd overall. So it's GPP, but he might be a fade here, because like my projection really doesn't like him, and he didn't have top 20 long run speed. So I think I'm kind of out on him. Joey Logano is next, and you'll notice that there's a green on Truex and Logano. That doesn't mean anything play-wise. I just put that to remind me that these guys are from New England. So these guys, Logano's from Connecticut, and I forget where Truex is, but they grew up having some experience. So did Priest and Burton. So just wanted to kind of call that out, that but Logano struggled this season. He's been up and down. He ran really well here last year, ran well at Worldwide Technology, but Richmond and Phoenix, he wasn't as good. 13th overall composite, 8 on the track average, didn't have great long run speed, was 13th in practice. So I think GPP, and I think he's got low ownership, because I think people see that he's kind of in a slump, and all the Fords overall have just kind of taken a step back this year. When they changed the nose, it's just not working out. And unless he's in clean air, which I don't see him, unless Truex and Bell take each other out and Almirola runs into the back of that wreck, him getting out front, and I think that he's going to fall back a little bit. Probably can get a top 10, but I've seen him have so many issues recently. I'm not really as interested. Blaney, I think you can play in cash here. Again, if you want to pair him with one of the top guys, I don't think you can get all three in, though. Just would be a really messy lineup. 6 overall. I ran really well at Worldwide Technology, decent at Phoenix, track style average 6.5, which is one of the best ones up here, but 16th overall with everything considered. So I think you can play him in cash here. It's probably a fringe play, but I think there's enough upside that to consider him. He's getting better on the style track. Tyler Reddick, I think also you can consider in cash here. I think he's going to be highly owned. He was 4th in practice and 4th overall with composite and everything. Looked decent at Phoenix, but he struggled at New Hampshire last year, and Richmond and Worldwide Technology wasn't the greatest either. So perhaps he'll be able to do a little bit better, but he just needs to stay out of trouble, and that's what really has happened with him recently. He's just had some bad luck and not been able to put together a string of really good races. William Byron, ended up like with the rain win last week. I mean, he's been in good form. He's having a great season here. I looked really good at Richmond, Worldwide Technology, and Phoenix. Even though these, but 25th in practice, and all the Hendrick cars struggled. It looked like there was some kind of mechanical issue potentially with him minorly, so I'm just kind of concerned here. 17th in the long run speed, just a GPP for me. I just think the Toyotas are just head and shoulders above the Chevys here. So if I'm playing these Hendrick cars, I'd probably just play a stack of them in case they figure something out, or like with strategy or stuff, but I just don't think I can play him in cash, and even at GPP, he's not one of my favorite plays. Bubba Wallace actually did really well here last year. He hasn't backed it up well on the similar types of tracks, but in practice he was 5th. His overall average is finish on tracks like this is 7.91. So I think you definitely consider him in cash here. Definitely a Toyota. It's like everything points to him having a decent amount of upside at 8K. Brad Keselowski has been good at this. Like, he was horrible at Worldwide Technology, but if you throw that out, he's probably about 8th place overall, and that's where he's starting. So if he can hang on to his top 10, I think he'll definitely be a good play. as I was talking earlier, Almirola I think is a great play on FanDuel, especially if he can stay up there because you don't really need him to lead the laps. You know, if he can just hold serve and like finish in the top 5 or top 10, just lose a couple place differential points, just with their scoring system, I think he's a better play. And I think Kozlowski could be that also a better FanDuel play than on DK, but I definitely think he can be in consideration in cash here also. Kyle Busch I'm having to fade. Kyle Busch in practice brushed up against the wall, and the passenger side of the car was all scraped up, and they did some work, and then I don't know if he missed the shift or what happened, but he got into the top 10 to get into like the playoff for qualifying, and then he spun into the wall again. They're not going to backup car. They're going to try to fix this one. There's a lot of repairs to be done. He's going to have to start at the back of the field. He's hit the wall twice already, and he's already starts usually as GPP play. So I know believe he won at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, which is similar here. Sorry, I think I called Northworks earlier, so I apologize for that. Worldwide Technology is the one that's comparable here. So Kurt Busch, or not Kurt Busch, he's not even racing. He might do better than Kyle Busch this week, truly. So Kyle Busch, I'm a fade here. There's no way with this trouble I've seen, paying 10-4, starting in the back, definitely with the repairs they're going to have to make. If he beats me, but I really will probably have, he's usually the first guy on my GPP, and this week, absolutely not. No way. Austin Dillon starting way too far forward here. He's just 32 overall with his ranking in these types of tracks and everything, 32nd in practice. Like I just can't do it. He ran one good hot lap, but I just don't see it overall, especially with long run speed. Daniel Suarez has been getting a little bit better, 19th, 11th in practice. I don't know, not super interested here. He's just taking a step backwards compared to where he was last year, and I just don't. If I see him starting to get into better form, then maybe, but GPP to fade for me. Kevin Harvick, I think GPP here, borderline cash. He's been really good at these types of tracks here. 7th in long run speed, 19th in practice. A little bit concerning, but I think he'll have high ownership, and I don't know. Maybe I think I can play him in cash. I'll change the tag there. So I think he's decent. Some place differential, definitely from probably get up into the top 10. Like he's got a lot of experience here, runs well with this style of track. So there's a lot of positive things. One of his better tracks too, and one of the better packages. And maybe this is his final chance to win a race. So I'd love to see him go out with a win. That would be great. AJ Allmendinger, he was top 10 long run speed, 18th over on practice. Been up and down in his style of racing on flat tracks. So, the Collie car is a decent Xfinity, but it never really translates to Cup. So I like the price for GPP fill in, but I don't really love him. I don't think he has much upside. Larson is now the same way I feel about Kyle Busch. He's just so volatile. He's a boom or bust. Like really good at Richmond, good here last year, really good at Phoenix, track style, but he finds a lot of wrecks. So he usually has not been good at this style of track, but he's kind of proved us wrong in the last couple of races on these track styles. But I just don't know if it's sustainable. At least he had a 13th overall long run range and 14th in practice. He wasn't abysmal like some of the other Hendricks cars were, but again at 10-6, I would so much rather try to get Bell and Truex in my lineup than play Larson here. If I'm looking in the 10K range here, I'd rather try to get Harvick in, saving about $1,000 or find $300 to get Hamlin in. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., I'm just a fade. He's just starting way too far forward here. Also, Michael McDowell, he looked amazing in practice. He had the number 1 in practice speed, number 1 in long run speed. He just kind of botched the qualifying, but that's fine because maybe they didn't want to mess with the setup too much for qualifying, knowing what they have figured out for like long run and for the race. So like last year, 27th overall average here, and he ranks third just with everything considered, with his practice times factored in. If you took those out, he's probably about a 17th place driver, where it's exactly where he's starting. So I think he's definitely a nice fill-in for your cash lamb. Again, it's hard to pass here. So if you can stay in the top 20, especially with the speed, long run speed, you can move up with all the guys I talked about that potentially could have problems. He could find himself up in the top 10. So really like some Michael McDowell. Chase Elliott, GPP, he kept on pulling off the track during practice. Just something phantom wrong with it. Just didn't really feel like he could push the car at all. He felt like he was going to lose it. They tried to make some adjustments. Obviously, didn't qualify well. 28th in overall practice. He did have some decent long run speed for the short time he was out there for a long run. But again, I know he really needs to win, which means that it could help with place differential, because they might have to try some different pitting strategies and stuff, and really not go for stage points, because they really need to more swing for the fences, because they're not going to be able to point their way in. I think they'd rather be the last car with no bonus points starting off in the playoffs than not make the playoffs at all. Justin Haley's been on a pretty decent run recently. Second in Chicago, I believe it was top 10 last week. 6 in practice. Didn't have a ton of long run speed, but I think again at 5,800, he's a nice cash play here. And it might not be a decent pairing. Again, I haven't really looked at the at putting a whole lineup together here. But Bell and Truex, and even if you can't get my 2 primes in, maybe one of them in McDowell and Haley in the almost just sub 6K range might be a decent build for you. Denny Hamlin here, I like him in cash. He's been good at this track. 4th in long run speed, 12th in practice. Comparable tracks, he's 7th, 9th overall. Definitely not a 20th place car. Definitely can get into the top 15 and the top 10. Just needs to move up a little bit to maybe into the top 10 to pay off his price tag. So, and I think that's doable. And I think with the right pit strategy and stuff, it's a Joe Gibbs car. He could be up there running with the other Gibbs. So I'm not opposed, like I did in Xfinity, to doing a JGR stack here. If you can get all 4 cars in, I don't know how Gibbs is pretty cheap here. So that might be a place to go. And I don't think you can get all the Gibbs at 2311. I haven't priced it, I haven't checked it, and I'm not recommending that be a lineup in anything other than a GPP. But I think the Gibbs cars have a lot of upside. I don't think you can mathematically do it, but I would definitely take the natural Gibbs cars, or would Bubba Wallace maybe into the mix. I wouldn't. I'd probably leave Reddick out of the stack if I am trying to do that in GPP. But yeah, I do like Hamlin here. I think you can play him in cash, and if you want to go like Truex and Hamlin with the place differential to have an early dominator for Truex, and then somebody else that could raise up and maybe lead some laps later on in the race if something happens to Truex, then I think Hamlin's a decent play here. Ryan Preece, I really like this play here. Again, home track, definitely a cash play. It usually hasn't been good this season, but we've seen in the past him come here and the style track just be very, very solid, very, very good. So, and I think that these are some of his best. Some of and again, it hasn't translated this year, but I think this is a good point where he looked good this weekend. He could turn it around. 15th in practice, 10th in long run speed. Definitely can hold his position at 7,100 or move up. Austin Cindric, I think he's gonna be highly on just for the place differential, and because he's a Penske Ford. He is wearing glasses now, so maybe that's going to help him out racing better. He started wearing them last week, so we'll see if that translates to anything. But pretty pedestrian numbers here, nothing super exciting. So 6,100 is a fair price. At GPP, he's a take it or leave it for me. I don't really play him. Todd Gillian starting 2-part forward here. I think he's a decent driver. He's decent at these flat tracks, but and if I had to play the two, I'm saving so much on Gillian, playing him over Cindric, but I think of low ownership just because of his starting position. Corey LaJoie, same thing. I like him in a mile half tracks, not like these shorter tracks. So could potentially struggle here, starting a little bit too far forward. Even if he finishes where he starts, I really don't like the upside here. So not super excited about him. Alex Bowman, I think he's going to have a lot of ownership just based on the price. But ever since the injury, really hasn't put it together. Yeah, he ran well at Richmond, but he was horrible here last year. North, he just looked bad in practice here, just didn't have the speed. 31st. I know he had 15th in the long run speed, but I think that's a little bit deceiving. So GPP definitely would consider him. Probably, if might he's someone maybe make my GPP core just because of like the price and the upside here, but I really don't think I can play him in cash. Chris Buescher, gonna give him a prime play here. We've seen him do so well on this style tracks. 9th overall in practice, 11th in long run speed, 12th overall composite. He's not a 26th place car. He should be able to get up in the top 20 into the top 15 and run really well. 7,300, really like the price. Chase Briscoe, this is another track we have to shift and stuff. 26th in practice, 16th in the long run. A little disappointing there. I think he can go up a little bit just looking at his numbers, but like everything points to him finishing exactly where he is. So that's why I have him as a GPP. Harrison Burton, he, again, last week, Atlanta, first wreck. Harrison Burton. Probably going to be the first wreck here again, too. It's just a GPP. The only reason I don't have him as a fade is like usual is it's his home track. His father, Jeff, or his uncle, I forget how the relations go. Maybe he's Ward's son, or maybe he's a nephew or whatever. But anyways, however is related to Jeff Burton. Jeff Burton was super dominant on this track. Always ran well here, home track, lots of experience. So hopefully that'll translate to something. Noah Grayson, I think, just wants to put the season behind him and move on to his sophomore year. He's been injured, he's been wrecked. It's just been frustrating. They're switching over to Toyotas last year, so I don't think Chevy's next year. I don't think Chevy's giving a ton of support. Same thing with Eric Jones here. He hasn't been as disappointing as Grayson, but just compared to last year when we thought he had upside to win a race and make it into playoffs and just had some really good top 10 performances and speed and was leading races. It just hasn't been there this year with this Legacy Motorsports program. And so he's a GPP. I think he's going to be highly owned just based on the place differential and the pricing on him. So be my guest, but I'm not interested. Ross Chastain, I think, is going to be chalked down here also at 88, but he really struggled in practice and qualifying. Here on practice, he wasn't bad. He was third overall, but didn't qualify well. He has historically struggled here. Like he has the speed, but we just haven't seen the consistency for him week to week or even in like the style of track. So I know he looked good at Richmond, and I know he's not a 31 place car, so that's why I have him as cash. But we thought the same thing with Ryan Sieg. Now Ryan Sieg did have some accidents in practice in the backup car and had worse drivers around him. But you see what him starting in the back, it's hard to pass. Does Ross get too aggressive, or does this help Ross? And he does pick off a lot of cars. So I have him as a cash play. I can't put him as a prime play. I think a lot of people will have him as a core play, and I get it, but I didn't core Ryan Sieg, and I made out quite well with that. I would have lost everything and not recovered any money. Just with the way Xfinity went, I feel it's kind of the same way as Ross Chastain. Will I have him in lineups? Absolutely. It's just stupid not to. Will he be in my primary cash build? I'm not sure. If I have to make a sacrifice to be a little bit different from the field, I think this is where I'm going to go. Again, I'm not saying fade him. I'm not saying he's not a great play. He might. And if he works in your build, then it makes sense to play him at this price point where he's starting based on his practice speed and his upside. But I'm saying he's not like a priority here. And this is how I think I'm going to try to be different in cash and some of the smaller single entry GPPs that I might play. BJ McLeod's a fade. He just has to hope that there's a huge wreck in front of him, like Emberling did today, and I think Mason Massey, like they ended up in like the ultimate lineup just because of attrition. And if BJ McLeod, but you also saw some other of the bad cars like 20-30 laps down just because they just couldn't keep up. Ryan Newman, same thing. He's going to be a little bit better. He had top 20 long run speed, but like his short run speed was horrible. Like he's going to be out there. It's already hard to pass here, and he's even harder to pass. But it's Rick Ware cars. They're going to make it all the way. I don't know. Cole Custer, though, did look like he had some decent speed in the long run. Once the car came, like short run speed was horrible, but he did good in the Xfinity race. He probably could have finished in the top 5 if and he was challenging to try to get up to lead, but if Sheldon Creed didn't take him out, then I think he would have definitely had a top 3 day here. So again, it's not the best car, doesn't have the best short run speed, but over the long run, I think he knows what he's doing and might be able to make some gains with his experience that he has run here in Cup and be able to move up a little bit and be a nice point per dollar play for you. Ty Dillon, GPP to fade. He's just not good. And then Ty Gibbs, like he was great in practice. Well, not great. He was like top 20 in practice. He was top 8 in long run speed. It's a Joe Gibbs car. They're going to figure it out. I know he doesn't have a ton of experience on this track, only a couple races, but it's Ty Gibbs. He botched the went too aggressive on the qualifying lap and just kind of mailed it in. And the same thing Bub Walsh did a couple weeks ago and just said, I'm not going to run this lap and damage my car and push it too much. So he'll be perfectly fine. He might even move up a little bit in the grid and not be starting dead last. He'll still be scored as dead last, but with some of these other cars, especially like Kyle Busch and anybody else that has to move to the back, there's a ton in Xfinity. It's like 7 people move to the back. So that already pushes him up to like start like really 30th position. So he's already getting some natural place differential there just at the start of the race. So definitely like Ty Gibbs, lock him in. So again, Truex, Gibbs, and Buescher are my core. Try to get Bell in. And then there's some cheaper plays I talked to you about in the middle there, like McDowell and Haley. Also like Cole Custer. We need to drop down a little bit further. And in the mid-range, like Ryan Preece, I really like. And then if you want to be a little bit different, then Blaney, Hamlin, trying to get some of those plays in. So that's what I got for you. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat below. Hit me up at McGrover31 on Twitter. Looks like we made it through the whole video without the power going off. So thank you for that. If you want more information on FSI DFS, go to the description of the video. You can sign up for our full package where you'll get the most updated sheet, any updates and stuff, and for the races where you have like qualifying and practice in the same day, and it's too hard to get a video in between, and we just do the speculation videos, which have actually been pretty good this season. So I'm pretty proud of myself. I've been even through everything that has gone on. We've been able to come up with a video for every single race in Truck and Xfinity and for Cup this season. So hopefully we'll be able to keep this undefeated streak and make it through till Phoenix and be able to continue to provide for you good content. So appreciate you watching, especially like last week. It's just really touching that almost 1,200 people watched this video and shared it and liked it. 100% likes there. So if we're helping you, you're already helping us by all those people are watching, but continue to like the video, subscribe to our channel so you know when all our videos are coming out, and you can see all the other cool ones we have, whether it's in baseball, PGA. This fall we'll have to see if we're going to do like NASCAR, NBA, or anything like that. My fly flame's back, but he's not close enough for me to get. So again, appreciate that. So if you can like the video, share with your friends, subscribe to our channel, appreciate that also. I think we're up to 4,330 subscribers. So we want to get to 5,000. We're hoping by the end of the season we're getting a slow base surely, and if we don't, like, we'll make the quest for next season. And we have some of our owners that are going to actually put out some pretty cool prizes for our subscribers if we do hit the 5,000 mark. So looking forward to that day. But just very thankful for everybody who's watched and supported us over the last couple of years. So anyways, I'm a Guerrero 31, you know how to get a hold of me. I hope that they can get this race in at a point of time where it's not going to be an absolute mess. I know they have the rain tires and everything ready to go, but if there's lightning, the race is going to be broken up or maybe prematurely end. So I hope that doesn't happen this time. So hope everybody has a safe weekend. Good luck in your contest. You know how to get a hold of me, and I'll see you next weekend for Pocono, maybe? Try it in my backyard. Well, we'll figure that out when we figure it out. So have a good weekend. See you next time.